be my forever. A 3-acre haven on the shimmering shores of Lake Marendale in Vermont. It wasn't just wood and stone. It was a living tapestry of memories, woven from the threads of summers spent under endless blue skies. I can still smell the pine-scented air as I stepped onto the creaky dock for the first time at 5 years old, my tiny feet dangling over the edge, toes skimming the cool, silken water. Grandpa Elias was there, his calloused hands steadying me, his laughter a gravelly rumble that echoed like distant thunder. "Feel that, Sierra girl?" he'd say, his voice thick with the Vermont drawl he'd never quite shaken. "That's the lake's heartbeat. It's telling you secrets only the patient can hear." He'd built the house himself in the 1970s, back when he was a young carpenter fresh from the war, his dreams as sturdy as the oak beams he hewed by hand. No architect's blueprint for him, just sketches on napkins and a stubborn will that turned raw wilderness into a rustic haven. The cabin was modest by today's standards. 3 bedrooms with quilts hand-stitched by Grandma Lila before she passed, a massive stone fireplace that roared like a beast on chilly evenings, and walls lined with shelves of dog-eared books and carved wooden decoys. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the lake like a painting, the water shifting from sapphire mornings to molten gold at sunset. The dock stretched 20 feet out, weathered but unyielding, and the boathouse cradled Grandpa's old aluminum fishing boat, its hull scarred from decades of bass hunts, and a red canoe that bobbed gently in the shallows. Every inch whispered of solitude and hard-won peace, the kind Grandpa said came from buildin' something that outlasts you. Our family vacations were the highlight of my year, but they were never equal. My parents, Thomas and Elaine Whitaker, were the architects of our household's unspoken hierarchy. Melina, my younger sister by 7 years, was the golden child, the sun around which we all orbited. Born with porcelain skin, cascading auburn waves, and eyes like polished emeralds, she entered the world demanding attention and never stopped. From her first cry, she was the pretty one, the social butterfly, the dreamer who needed wings clipped only by her own whims. I was the shadow, practical, quiet, with mousy brown hair I tied back in a perpetual ponytail, and a face more suited to blueprints than spotlights. "Sierra's the reliable one," Mom would say with a fond pat on my head, as if dependability were a consolation prize. Grandpa Elias saw through it all. While Mom fussed over Melina's latest tantrum, or Dad tallied the cost of her extracurriculars, he'd whisk me away to the lake house. "Come on, Sierra girl," he'd grunt, slinging a tackle box over his shoulder. "Let's leave the circus behind." We'd fish till dusk, him teaching me to tie knots tighter than family ties, to mend a line as easily as a broken heart. He'd spin yarns of his youth, running moonshine during Prohibition, courting Grandma under apple blossoms in the orchard, his voice a soothing cadence against the lap of waves. "Hard work ain't about sweat, darlin'. It's about knowing when to let go and when to hold fast." Those summers shaped me. By 12, I was sketching dock repairs on graph paper, dreaming of structures that harmonized with nature. Grandpa encouraged it, gifting me tools and books on sustainable design. "Build like the lake builds its shore," he'd say, one stone at a time, resilient against the storm. When I left for college at 18, state school on scholarships and grit, he drove me there himself, the canoe strapped to the truck's roof like a talisman. "This place'll wait for you, Sierra. It's yours when you're ready." He passed 6 years ago, a quiet heart attack in his workshop, mid-carve on a loon decoy for me. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and casseroles, Melina weeping dramatically into Dad's shoulder while I stood numb, clutching Grandpa's pocket knife. The will reading, in the stuffy office of his attorney, Mr. Hargrove, was where the fracture lines first appeared. We gathered around a polished oak table, Mom dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief, Dad fidgeting with his cufflinks, Melina scrolling her phone under the table. Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat, spectacles perched on his nose. "To my son Thomas and daughter-in-law Elaine, I leave my tools and workshop contents, in hopes you'll find use in honest labor." Dad's jaw tightened, Grandpa's subtle dig at his desk job in finance. "To my granddaughter Melina, a sum of $50,000 for her education or pursuits, provided she completes a trade or degree within 5 years. Melina's head snapped up, a triumphant smile blooming. 50 grand? For me? She'd never finished community college, but details were for later. Then, the words that etched themselves into my soul. "And to my granddaughter Sierra, who appreciates the value of hard work and solitude, I leave my lake house on Lake Marendale, including all 3 acres, the dock, boathouse, and contents therein. May she find the same peace there that I did, unburdened by the clamor of the world." The room went still. Mom's handkerchief froze mid-dab, her smile a brittle mask. "How wonderful, Sierra," she said, voice syrupy. "You always were Elias's favorite." The words landed like a backhanded compliment, implying I'd stolen something undeserved. Dad's face darkened, his mind no doubt whirring through lost equity. The property's value had skyrocketed with Vermont's ecotourism boom, easily $500,000 now. Melina's pout was theatrical. "But that place is worth a fortune." "Why all to Sierra? I spent just as much time there." It was a lie, of course. Melina lasted 2 days tops before whining about no Wi-Fi or rustic bugs, fleeing back to malls and manicures. I'd log months, restoring the roof after storms, planting wildflower meadows along the shore, but facts never swayed her. As we left, she cornered me in the hallway. "You got lucky, Sierra. Don't rub it in." I shrugged, key to the cabin already in my pocket. "It's not luck, Moll. It's Grandpa's choice." That night, alone in my Hartford apartment, I wept, not for joy, but for the weight of it. it. The lake house wasn't just inheritance, it was validation. Proof that someone saw my quiet strength, not my sister's shine. Chapter 2. The golden orbit life post-will settled into a fragile normalcy, but the hierarchy endured, a gravitational pull I couldn't escape. I threw myself into my career, channeling Grandpa's lessons into architecture. Sustainable design became my passion. Homes that breathed with the land, like the lake house. I clawed through undergrad on loans and waitressing shifts, interned at firms where nepotism opened doors I kicked down with portfolios. By 28, I founded Whitaker Green Designs, a boutique firm specializing in eco-residential builds. Our first big project, a net-zero cabin in the Adirondacks, earning me a feature in Dwell magazine. Mom and Dad acknowledged it with polite cards. Proud of you, dear. But their pride felt obligatory, like tipping a server. It's nice you found your niche, Mom said over Easter brunch, as if my firm were a hobby. Melina, meanwhile, was their eternal project. At 27, she flitted through jobs like a butterfly through flowers. Boutique clerk, quit over toxic vibes. Real estate assistant, fired for tardiness. Social media influencer for a cafe, lasted 3 months, blamed the algorithm. Each failure prompted parental bailouts, rent subsidies, credit card rescues, loans that vanished like mist. She's finding herself, Dad would say, wiring another check. Mom nodded, eyes distant. Melina's always been sensitive to luxury, more like. Her closet overflowed with labels I couldn't pronounce, funded by their guilt or hope she'd settle. I bit my tongue, focusing on my own orbit, clients, blueprints, the occasional weekend at the lake house where I'd paddled the canoe at dawn, sketching renovations in a notebook. Then came Jonas. 3 years ago, at a Hartford gallery opening, Melina met him, a tall, broad-shouldered charmer with a trust fund smile and a job at his father's investment firm. Old money, she gushed to me over wine that night, her eyes sparkling. He gets it, Sierra. The life I deserve. Jonas fit seamlessly, chauffeured dates in his leased Porsche, weekends in the Hamptons, gifts that screamed excess, a Birkin bag for their 3-month anniversary, but cracks showed early. His firm role was glorified coffee runs. His apartment, a sublet in West Hartford, screamed overextension. Debts piled from poker nights and bad stocks, but Melina saw only the facade. Their engagement, announced last spring at a lavish dinner Mom hosted, ignited the frenzy. He's the one, Melina declared, flashing a 2-carat solitaire that could fund my firm's next project. I congratulated her genuinely. Love, even flawed, deserved celebration. The lake house could be perfect for rehearsal photos, I suggested later, envisioning the dock at golden hour. Melina's smile faltered. Maybe, but we're thinking something grander. I chalked it to bridal jitters. Planning escalated like a wildfire. Guest list ballooned from 100 to 300. Distant cousins, sorority sisters, Jonas's fraternity brothers. The country club venue morphed into the Grand Elysium, a Berkshire's resort with ballrooms like Versailles. The gown, custom from a Parisian atelier, $28,000. Florals, imported orchids airlifted weekly. I offered help, designing invites with eco inks, sourcing local caterers, but Melina waved me off. You're sweet,